Hey DJs, welcome back. It's Jamie Hartley here from Crossfader. Today's video is a little bit different, and this goes off the back of a lot of requests that I get, specifically in the comments section on the YouTube Sunday Skills videos that we create. One of the biggest questions a lot of DJs are asking me is, how do you come up with the routines that you create? Where do you start? How would you come up with the ideas, specifically in the routines, but also in extended mixes for in clubs and parties as well? So this video, I'm going to break down 5 different ways that I would potentially approach a mini mix or routine style video. And these are different ways you could use them as starting points for your next mix. You could decide to combine some of these different tips and ideas all into one mix to create an overall creative DJ routine. You could even just choose one of them as a starting point and base your mix around that one technique. Now don't get me wrong, there are more than 5 ways for you to start or approach any mix, whether it be something as short as a routine that you're going to video or as long as a 5-hour club set. But these are 5 ways that I would particularly look at my library, at my music, at my skill set, and how I would approach creating something like one of our Sunday DJ Skills routines. Before we start, just remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff to help us keep making videos like this. Okay, number 1. The first thing I would do is think about the music that I want to play and analyze it. Analyze it with your ears, not with your eyes. Listen to as much music as possible. Listen through the music that you want to incorporate into your sets. There's no point trying to create a mix if you haven't already listened to some of the music you want to put in it. We need to listen to music, spend the time, whether you're just walking to work, on a commute, headphones in and just listen to the music. You don't have to play with it or do anything with it. We're just there to analyze it. And what happens, the more you listen to music, the more you start to remember certain parts of certain tracks. Now, what parts would I be listening out for when I'm analyzing the music? This is quite an important one. I'm always listening out in pieces of music for things that are isolated, that are by themselves. Whether it be a vocal that doesn't have much backing track around it, whether it be a really nice melody that sits in the track but it doesn't have the bass line or the drums surrounding it. Maybe it is just a drum break, something that is really percussive, but there is room to sit something else either on top of it or in it. And that's where DJing and mixing comes in. What we can do is take the top line of one track and layer it over the bass line of another track. I'd be listening, maybe I've got a really cool drum break in one track and a nice vocal in another. Can I sandwich and piece them 2 pieces together? There's no point trying to take 2 really nice clean pieces of melody and then fitting them together, because it doesn't necessarily work in the music spectrum or frequency range. So think about it, look at your controller, look at your mixer. We have 3 different EQs on nearly all mixers and controllers, the highs, mids and lows. Think about your mix in this way. The mix, the blend, the transition, it needs to cover those 3 different frequency ranges. The low frequencies, middle frequencies and high frequencies. If you've got a piece of music that has a lot of low frequency but not much high frequency, then there is room there. There is space in the mix to add something in over the top. This especially works for mashup mixing, where you're going to be blending tracks together constantly rather than just mixing from one track to the next track. It's a case of sandwiching and piecing tracks on top of each other. And that's something I listen out for a lot when it comes to my music. When I find those pieces, I will either save loops, set hot cues, and prepare my music so that I can access that point in the track when I want it. That's one of my biggest tips for you straight away. It's a great starting point, is to listen to your music, analyze the spaces in the music. Where is the room to add something else in? Where is the room to add that over something else? Save those points. If you want to see this in practice and hear it in practice, then I've added loads of different reference material and tutorial videos within a link that I'll tell you at the end of the video. Another starting point for me would be mixing in key. Let me quickly break down what mixing in key is. A key is a bunch of notes on a piano scale. When played together, it sounds right and it sounds nice. When someone's producing a piece of music, they don't use all the notes on that piano scale. They'll only use a certain amount of them, and those certain ones will determine what key the track is in. Now, without getting too technical, if one track is using, say, 5 notes on the piano and another track is using the same 5 notes on the piano, then they will harmonically mix together because they're using the same notes on the piano scale. However, some tracks might be using a certain 5 notes and another track might be using a total different 5 notes. Harmonically, they won't sound nice when they're played together. So mixing in key is a really good way to think about your mixes, and especially a good starting point, because you can take one track as your starting track and think, okay, what in my library will mix in key with this track? Does it give me any ideas of where to go next? Now, the DJ software in 2018, nearly every single piece of DJ software offers up what it thinks the key of the track are, and I'll show you in the link at the end of the video just how you can find out what the key of your music is in your DJ software, and then some tips for how to combine and mix different tracks in key. So starting point number 3 for me would be to try and take some of the performance features that I have on the controller or the equipment in front of me and show them off, to showcase them to their full potential. Try and apply some creative techniques to those different performance features that you have available right in front of you. So rather than trying to do the same mix every time and do something interesting just using the hot cues, I'd maybe approach the mix by thinking, okay, this mix I'm going to try and use the slicer more. So my mix will be built around how can I use the slicer and show off the slicer, showcase it to its full potential, and I would just practice just with that performance feature. Then the next thing would be, okay, I want to use the sampler. How can I use the sampler to its full potential and do something creative with it? And I would just spend time playing with that one performance feature and experimenting with it. Then combining these different performance features together to create a more extended mix or DJ routine. That's another way of approaching your mix. Rather than thinking about necessarily the music that you have, you think about the performance features you have and then try and take the music and use them in the performance features. This is something that takes a lot of experimenting, a lot of trial and error, and a lot of practice. And it's something that we teach a lot in our online DJ courses, is how to use your controllers and your equipment to its full potential. Really how to dive deep into those performance features and do more than just maybe mix track A to B, which there's nothing wrong with, but there is so much fun to be had on the equipment that we have access to nowadays. So it would be a shame not to make use of it. Okay, the fourth way that I would approach a mix or a routine would be to think about cross-pollinating different genres. So that's cross-mixing between maybe hip-hop and house, or house and drum and bass, or even 3 or 4 different genres. By approaching a mix thinking, this mix I want to achieve something that is going to transition between a few different genres, this then takes the energy level of the mix up and down. It allows you to control the vibe of the night, of the mix, of the energy level that you're putting across in your DJ set. This is something that I would set out on maybe before I even start playing. I think the challenge in this mix and the thing I want to overcome is being able to mix from house to hip hop, play a few hip hop tracks, and then remix hip hop into a drum and bass track. That's something that I would challenge myself and then set out and go try and do on my equipment. There are loads of examples of this in our online DJ courses, specifically the advanced versions of the courses, so you can check them out in the links, but it's just a way of thinking about your next DJ set. If you're someone that wants to create more mashup style mixing, then cross-pollinating between genres is the best way to start thinking like that. This is a quick bonus tip before we move on to number 5. Seeing as we're talking about cross-pollinating between genres, a really good way to introduce this technique is to think about finding different remixes of the same tracks. Can you find a certain track, take the original, maybe there might be a house remix, a drum and bass remix, a pop remix, there might be so many different remixes of it, but then try and mix between those different remixes, and that straight away starts to move between different genres and energy levels. So that's a good way of starting out mixing between different genres. Take a track and mix into all the different remixes. Okay, tip number 5, and I've saved the easiest one for last, so do not worry. This is super simple, everybody can do it, and this is probably the best way that you're going to come up with ideas. Are you ready? Tip number 5 is just mix. Spend hours and hours and days and weeks and months just mixing, enjoying what you do, enjoying just being a DJ. Playing with music and mixing music is one of the best ways to come up with new ideas. The more you do something, the more that you'll start to think of new ways to do it and interesting ways to do it. So spend time practicing on your equipment, practicing with your music, and just mixing. Okay, I hope these 5 ideas have given you new ways to either start your mix, new ways to get creative in your mixes. It's got you thinking about how you want to plan your next DJ routine, or when you maybe play your next club set or party, the way you want to approach it. Like I said, these aren't the only 5 ways to do this. I'd love to know If you've learned anything from this video, please drop it in the comments below. And remember, we've got some online DJ courses that teach loads of specific skills using your piece of DJ equipment or controller. But if you want to learn more from this video, from these 5 tips, I've pulled loads of resources together, free DJ lessons and free content for you to check out and deeper dive into some of these techniques. I've posted the link on the screen and also in the card in the description, so go check that out. I hope that you've got some insight and value from this video. Please remember to thumbs up, share, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I'll see you in another video like this very soon.